Fudgy brownies are so easy to make with cocoa powder, and they're going to become your new favorite recipe for fudgy brownies. Welcome to Homemade Cooking in Texas. I'm Carolyn Gibson from Dogwood Gardens, where homemade cooking is surprisingly easy, healthier for you and your family, saves money, and tastes great. Come join me today as I share my favorite recipes, and I hope they will become your favorite recipes. And don't forget, like and subscribe to my channel. Now, I really like fudgy brownies. I mean, if I wanted the cake-like brownies, I'd make a chocolate cake. And they were surprisingly easy to make, and I like to use real cocoa powder and not buy the chocolate chips, which so many recipes calls for, because cocoa powder is just so less expensive. So I've got my pan here on really low heat, and I'm going to add 10 tablespoons of butter. I'll add 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder, plus 2 tablespoons, and 1.5 cups of sugar. Okay, now I'm just going to let this butter melt at low heat and mix this in until it's all melted and incorporated together. Now my butter's completely melted and the sugar and cocoa powder are all mixed in really well. So I'm going to take it completely off the heat and let this set for about 5 minutes for it to cool off. The batter has cooled off a little bit, so now I'm ready to add a little vanilla extract. Now I always like to use the real stuff, not the imitation. Give that a stir. And now I'm going to I need to add 2 eggs, but I'm going to put them in one at a time and stir them up really good after each one. Now that's stirred pretty good, so now I'm ready to add 1/2 cup of flour. Fudgy brownies don't take much flour. So if you come across a recipe that has more than 1/2 cup of flour, you know that it's not going to be a fudgy recipe. I'll be a little careful getting it going so I don't get flour all over them. But once I get all this flour mixed in, then I need to beat it for about 40 or 50 strokes. I could have used a much smaller pan, but then I would have had ingredients going all over the place when I was stirring it. So when you really need to stir something in a pan, make sure your pan is plenty big where you don't have your ingredients flying out all over the place. You see, I still got a little flour on the edge of the pans and on my spoon. So I'm going to kind of switch over to my spatula now so I can make sure I get all of that together. And now I'm ready to add some nuts. This is about 2/3 cups of nuts. Now I'm using walnuts. You can use pecans, hazelnuts, peanuts, whatever you happen to like. Get those in there. Now I'm ready to put it in my pan. Now, I'm using an 8x8 pan. Now, if you're using just a regular 8x8 pan, you need to probably line it with foil or with parchment paper, with the edges over. So when you get it out, it'll come out good. But I'm using a silicone pan. Now, even though I'm using a silicone pan, I'm still going to spray it. And when you're using these silicone pans, you can see how floppy they are. So you want to make sure and put it on top of another pan. It could be a cookie sheet. I'm using a broiler pan in this instance. And now I'm just ready to scoop it out and put it in. As we lick the pan nowadays, you probably have the health department after you. I'm ready to put it in a preheated 325-degree oven. Now I'm going to check, it's going to cook 25 to 35 minutes, but I'm going to start checking it after 25. It's been 35 minutes, and I took them out at 25 minutes and checked them and didn't think they were quite done. And of course, brownies are notoriously hard to tell when they're done. You don't want them overdone, and I'd rather have mine a little underdone. Well, it'll just make them a little more fudgy that way. So let's look at them. Okay, it looks kind of set around the edges, and I really think these are quite done. Just a little chocolate comes out of my stick. Now I am going to let these cool completely on the cooling rack before I even try to cut them. And we'll come back in probably a couple of hours. Okay, our brownies have cooled. We're ready to take them out of the pan. Now I've heated up some water and I've got a knife to cut them with. So let that just flip right out. Let's give them a cut. These are so good. Look how fudgy they are. That was so easy. Now, even if you'd used a brownie mix, you would have still had to put in the eggs and the oil or the butter. This was just so easy. This is so fudgy and soft and just tastes great. But if you didn't think this recipe was easy enough, I can't wait to show you my 3 ingredient brownies made with Nutella. Thank you so much for joining me today at Homemade Cooking in Texas. These are my favorite recipes, and I hope they will become yours. Now, if you enjoy these recipes, please like and subscribe so you can see more of these type recipes. We have been making a full-time living here on our organic farm since 1991. We need your support to continue our small family farm by liking and subscribing to our channel. Thank you so much.